Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I are on part 4 of our mini series that we are calling the NFL Wildcard 2002 Extravaganza Spectacular. Comment on, see how bad that name is, and let us know your thoughts. Where we are previewing today the 4 o'clock matchup on Sunday between the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of trying to get to 400 subscribers here on the channel by Super Bowl weekend. So if you have not already, please help us out by subscribing to this channel, like this video, comment on this video, and then share this with your 49ers and Cowboys friends. And Ryan, let's get into it. What a game this is going to be. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think both teams match up really well against one another. I think we are going to have good coaching against just superior talent on the Cowboys side. I say that with the utmost of saltiness to Mike McCarthy. And I like Dan Quinn. I just, as a Falcons fan, I like Dan Quinn. I just think that's besides the point. No saltiness toward there. I think that it's going to be a very interesting matchup to see Kyle Shanahan and his great offensive mind go up against this Cowboys defense, which has a lot of power, but have a lot of yards and a lot of points this season. And then just also then seeing how the 49ers match up against this just stud offense led by Dak Prescott. Then you got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield with him. Then you got Amari Cooper, and then you got CeeDee Lamb on the other side. Then you got Dalton Schultz as well. I mean, like that whole lineup right there is an elite level talent that those guys can match up against any offense in the league. What do the 49ers have to do to pull off an upset this Sunday?
So honestly, my biggest thing that the 49ers have to do is not beat themselves. That's kind of what they did against Tennessee. Or in, what was that, week
16? Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did. They had some turnovers, just sloppy play. They lost the field position battle. And so one of the things that I think is really interesting about this Dallas team is they are loaded talent-wise. I mean, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz. You name the whole lineup. They have stars at every level of this game. And frankly, they might have the most talented roster. I think Mike McCarthy is really holding this team back. And I think that is going to be the huge edge for San Francisco. And I think if they can just wait long enough and just be patient and not beat themselves, I think the Cowboys will put themselves in position to lose. Mike McCarthy might be the first ever coach to win the division and get fired in the same season. I think Dan Quinn would be a much better head coach than Mike McCarthy. There are multiple times this year that I think Mike McCarthy has almost or has cost the Cowboys games. I really think that he is on the hot seat. I think Dan Quinn, even Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, could potentially uproot him for the head coaching job. I don't think Jerry Jones is very happy with Mike McCarthy because I think, again, this team is one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. They just have underperformed in my opinion. And I say they underperformed and they won the division. So I feel like that speaks a little bit to my opinions on Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy ultimately cost them this game. I think if San Francisco can be patient, like I said, they'll lose. With all of that being said, what do you think the Cowboys have to do to come out and win this game?
So one of the things for me for the Cowboys is kind of based of what you're saying is they have, I think, the far superior talent, especially when it comes to playmaking ability, is they're just going to show up on offense and control this San Francisco 49ers defense. Play to your strengths, be creative, have a balanced attack. If they become one-dimensional and where they only start throwing the ball, it might make it easier for San Francisco to obviously defend. And now San Francisco does have a good defense. They're 6th in passing yards allowed all season and then 7th in rushing yards allowed all season as well. So you're going to have to come to them with a balanced attack because they're going to be able to stop you multiple ways, so you have to keep them on your toes. And they absolutely have the firepower and the capability. And I agree with you. I think Kellen Moore is a future NFL head coach. I think what he's done with the play calling in the system, utilizing the weapons, I think is he does a spectacular job with it. It's just, can they put together consistent drives, well thought out long drives? Something that we have seen San Francisco do all year. San Francisco, I think, has had, especially on opening drives, 15 play opening drives. They had the one, I think they played Jacksonville. I think it was Jacksonville. They had a 13-minute opening drive, like absolutely insane. I think it was 20 plays or something like that. I would need to go back and look this up once I send it back over your way, and I'll fact check that. But the what the Cowboys need to do is do that, and then just ball hawk and put consistent pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, because one of the weaknesses, I would say, on this team is going to be through the passing game. Dallas has given up 238 passing yards throughout the season, bringing them 20th overall amongst all NFL teams. So they can get after Jimmy Garoppolo, then I think that will put more pressure on them to be effective running the ball. And also then it'll make every time that they throw the ball, it might have something in the back of Jimmy Garoppolo's mind. Because Jimmy Garoppolo is still coming off this thumb injury that he had against Tennessee. I think it's going to be tough for Jimmy Garoppolo. But if San Francisco establishes the run game and then they are not putting pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, I think it's going to be a long day for this Dallas defense, and I think they're going to give up a lot of points.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things that I actually was a little bit surprised about. Everybody talked about how improved this Dallas defense was throughout the season, and they are. Trayvon Diggs has had a really good year. Micah Parsons has added another level of versatility to that linebacking core. And they've done a good job on that defensive line. However, they have given up a lot of bigger plays, but they kind of mask that by being able to create turnovers. So I guess in some cases you have to take the good with the bad, but if they could limit the 49ers on offense and still create those turnovers, I mean, that would be a dream come true for the Cowboys fans.
Yeah. It's insane. Trayvon Diggs, he has 11 picks this year. I haven't really paid too much attention throughout my life with just interceptions throughout the season, but 11 has to be up there as a season record. It has to be for an individual player. Like, that's got to be up there. And so it's been an absolutely great season.
I will chalk up some of that credit to being in the NFC East. Eagles don't really throw the ball that well. Daniel Jones doesn't really seem to be the answer in New York. Taylor Heineke, while it is, I guess, on par with the two quarterbacks I just named, it's not necessarily the best guy. So not taking anything away from Trayvon Diggs, they just they haven't necessarily played the cream of the crop quarterback talent in the NFL. So
that's fair.
So it is definitely something to keep an eye on, that he has very good ball skills and that he can pick you off. But he also has given up some plays this season. So I wouldn't say he's a shutdown corner just yet. I think he's on his way. But yeah, so I guess that kind of leads us into the final part of this preview. Who do you think is going to come out on top? You think the 49ers are going to go on the road and win it, or you think Dallas is going to get their first playoff win in a long time?
Well, I would say so. I am honestly kind of leaning towards an upset here with San Francisco winning. And I say that large and partly due to the game that the Arizona Cardinals just had with the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cardinals and the 49ers now, especially with DeAndre Hopkins out for the season, I think are kind of built kind of similarly. And the Cardinals game plan, they were much more run heavy in that game, keeping Dallas on their toes, kind of controlling the clock a little bit more, and letting all the playmakers and stars on that Dallas offense stay on the sideline for as long as possible. And I think Kyle Shanahan knows that. I think that talent-wise, they're outmatched here, so we're just going to have to outcoach them, come in with a strong offensive game plan. And I think that they're going to be able to have a very balanced running attack. We have seen with what they have now done with Deebo Samuel and the gadget player that he is, where he bring him in the backfield, they can run the ball with him, they can do checkdowns to him. He is an all-around great player for the San Francisco 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan knows that, and he has used him to perfection. Really revitalized this offense.
Yeah.
Then you still have George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk has really started to come up now that has opened him up. And I think that they're going to have a good game. I don't know if that the pass pressure is going to be able to get to Jimmy Garoppolo. He just needs to not make mistakes. San Francisco should have won that game, but then when Jimmy Garoppolo hurt his thumb, it affected his throwing ability, and then he started making errors, started throwing the ball. But San Francisco at the beginning of the game looked like the better team, and I thought they were the better team going into that.
Yeah.
And so I personally think I like to always try and pick one upset because that happens in sports. I think that this is going to be the upset game. And I think the 49ers are going to win a tight one. I think it's going to be 27-24 San Francisco.
Okay. Dang it. I thought I was going to be alone on the upset pick. I was going to pick the 49ers. If you couldn't tell from the beginning of the episode, I have no faith in Mike McCarthy. I think that the Cowboys are a much more talented team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say a much more talented team because San Francisco has a lot of talent, but they're the more talented team. I think they have more playmakers. However, I don't think that this team is going to be coached well. I think that they're going to make mistakes. They're going to get costly penalties. And I just don't think the 49ers are going to do that. I think the 49ers are going to come in and run they're going to play consistent and run plays that aren't going to put them at too much of a risk and just kind of wait for the Cowboys to make a mistake. And yeah, I guess my final thoughts are, I think if Dallas can come out and not make mistakes and play a balanced game plan, then I think that they'll win, but I don't see that happening. I think the 49ers will get ahead, and then the Cowboys will kind of become the one-dimensional team that they have been in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be a little higher scoring. I don't think either of these defenses are gonna be able to really stop the other. I'm gonna say 34-28 in favor of San Francisco.
34-28 in favor of San Francisco. Okay, all right, I like it. That one's highly possible. I think it's going to be a fun game either way. Like so far, every game up to this point that we have reviewed, every part in our series has been honestly, like, I think they're going to be really fun, high energy games. And obviously then it's the playoffs, so it's win and go home. So I think everything's going to be left on the table. There are going to be plays that we have not seen yet. A lot of these trick plays, I think, and it's just going to be a fun game. I think this one especially, I think this is a great afternoon game leading into Sunday night.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I'm very excited for this year's playoffs. A lot of these games have more have closer, more exciting games written all over them, and I just can't wait to get to it. So, other than that, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I have a goal of hitting 400 subscribers by Super Bowl weekend. So if you could help us reach that goal, we would be very appreciative of that. Other than that, we will see you guys next time.